Now, the Election Commission has finally put out the vote turnout data for both the phases that went to polls, the first and second. It has taken 11 days after the first phase and 5 days after the second phase for the EC to put out this data. So the first phase is down by just under 4% and the second phase is down by just under 3% compared to 2019. But this is more than 5% up from the provisional figures that were released at the end of those respective days of polling. That's the 19th of April and the 26th of April. The opposition is questioning both the delay as well as now the jump between the provisional data and the final data. The BJP says the opposition is simply laying the groundwork for making excuses for a massive defeat on the 4th of June. So is it correct to question the very integrity of the poll process? But first, the story so far.
आधुनिक युग में हम जी रहे हैं जहां मीडिया, सोशल मीडिया, टेलीफोन, मोबाइल, व्हाट्सएप इनका जमाना है। तो 10-10, 11-11 दिन चुनाव आयोग को लग जा रहा है ये बताने में कि कहां कितना प्रतिशत मतदान हुआ।
In the first phase, 4-day delay in putting out detailed turnout data in the second phase is unheard of, unprecedented, and unacceptable.
All right, so let me just explain this to our viewers as to why the low voter turnout and where is it that we're seeing low voter turnout. Remember, 102 constituencies went to polls in the first phase, 88 constituencies went to polls in the second phase. So essentially, we're looking at 190 constituencies, out of which in 138, we're seeing low voter turnout. Out of those 138, the BJP had won 62, the Congress had won 26. Let's go state by state. What is of concern to the BJP? Let's start with Rajasthan because the entire state has now voted in both those phases. Other than 3 constituencies, Barmer, where it's a very tight fight, a 3-cornered contest. Then you have Banswara, where the Prime Minister, of course, made the first attack on the Congress manifesto and likened it to the Muslim League manifesto. And then you have the constituency of Kota. So 3 constituencies. Other than those 3, the remaining 22 constituencies, the voter turnout has fallen anywhere between 4% to some cases as high as 8%. And particularly in what is called the Shekhawati belt or the Jat belt, that's Sikar, Churu, Junjunu. In these constituencies, which went to polls in the first phase, the voter turnout has fallen quite substantially. So Rajasthan is one state where we have seen a substantial fall in voter turnout. Uttar Pradesh, 17 seats have gone to polls. We have seen, for example, and all of it in western Uttar Pradesh, in Mathura, for example, where Hema Malini is up for re-election, the voter turnout fell by as much as 11%. So all 17 seats of Uttar Pradesh that have gone to polls, and remember, the BSP won 3 seats last time, the SP won 2, the remaining were won by the BJP. But in all of these seats, we have seen substantial fall in voter turnout. Madhya Pradesh, again, is another state of concern as far as the voter turnout is concerned. The eastern part of the state has gone to polls, and in all of those constituencies, Chhindwara was the only constituency that was won by the Congress. All other constituencies won by the BJP in 2019. In all of those constituencies, the voter turnout has fallen. So this is a matter of concern. Not just, of course, if you're a political pundit or a psephologist, the political parties will also be concerned, but just as far as the overall state of democracy itself is concerned, this is worrying that there is lower interest in this election for whatever reason. It could be the heat, it could be, just voter apathy, whatever the reason may be. I also want to quickly run you through, if we can, just the high voter turnout seats or the states that are seeing high voter turnout. Now, Karnataka, out of the 14 seats that went to the polls in the last phase, the second phase, 7 of them are seeing high voter turnout. In places like Mandya, for example, which has seen a record voter turnout in excess of 80%. So that is a substantial high compared to last time. So only 27 overall out of the 190 constituencies, only 27 have seen a higher voter turnout. 15 of those 27 were won by the BJP last time around. In Maharashtra also, in Vidarbha, you are seeing higher voter turnout, particularly in the first phase seats compared to last time around. And then I mentioned those 3 seats in Rajasthan where you're seeing higher voter turnout. And all 3 seats in Chhattisgarh also, which is in the Naxal belt, which is Kanker, Bastar, those seats have also seen a higher voter turnout. So, how much of this is a concern, the high and low voter turnout, and more importantly, what the opposition is alleging, this delay by the Election Commission in releasing the data. So let me now open this up to our guests who are joining us. GVL Narasimha Rao is National Spokesperson of the BJP. Sujata Paul is National Spokesperson of the Congress Party. Dr. Mohammad Amin is the ex-Joint Director with the Election Commission of India, and Professor Sanjay Kumar is Co-Director with CSDS. GVL Narasimha Rao, so the Election Commission says after 11 days after the first phase went and after 5 days after the second phase went, that the final turnout was 66.14 for the first phase, 66.71 for the second phase. The opposition is saying the provisional figures that the Election Commission itself gave on those respective days, 19th April when the first phase concluded and 26th April when the second phase concluded, was 60% for phase 1 and 60.96% for phase 2. Opposition is asking how is there this massive jump? In the first phase, the jump is 6% plus, and in the second phase, the jump is 5% plus. How does one explain this?
Zaka, this question is for me because I got a bit disconnected.
Yes, this question is for you, GVL, yes.
Yeah, hi, good evening, Jaka, to all the panelists and the viewers. You see, you should never on the day of polling, the numbers that you get in the evening are always the subsequent disclosure by the Election Commission, the final disclosure. They're always up by 3, 4, 5%. This happens every year, every election. Nothing is an exception. You can go back. Those parties which want to do a check, they can go back and check, because what is reported manually, there's nothing. You see, EVMs are not electronically connected to the Election Commission headquarters. You see, if that were the case, if there was a kind of a wiring or internet connection, then you would have seen every button pressed that would have reflected on the wall in ECI office. But each machine is like a calculator. It's an independent machine. So what the number of voters is reported not based on what is in the machine. Number of voters is based on what the presiding officer sits there. When you go to vote, they keep putting a serial number to the voter. You are the 5th voter in the booth. Your number, everything is recorded. This is manually conveyed to the returning officer in the constituency, which in turn is conveyed to the CEO, which in turn is conveyed to the Election Commission of India. So those have this false image of electronic voting machine data should be available instantly. Must understand this. Each machine is independent and has no connection whatsoever.
Okay, so Sujata Paul, the contention of the BJP, and this is what the Election Commission is also saying, they're saying 2 things. One, that each EVM is an independent standalone machine. So therefore, collating that data does take time. And 2, it's not just the machine data, it's the returning officer in each of these constituencies who has to sign off on the number of electors, on the number of people who actually turned up and voted. And that has to be collated. The ECI has also said in its statement yesterday that the delay was also, one of the reasons for the delay was also that the final figures could only have been released after counting the postal ballots and adding that to the total EVM count.
Good evening, Zaka, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. Here, it's very surprising that Mr. GVL is behaving as if he is the representative of the ECI when we have an ECI representative sitting. The fact is that when we are talking about the data today, if it takes 11 days and 4 days for the second phase, what does it show? That they could have 5 days. They could have done it in 5 days. And if the data of the first phase did not come out earlier, then it raises serious questions. And might I also remind you that from 2014 to 2024, what has changed? the duration of the election process, which used to be 20 days, has now gone to 2 months. And here also, after the second and and between the second and the third phase, you have this long gap. Why is there such a long gap? So there are a whole lot of questions. So when you talk about the data, it is for the ECI to answer why the data for the first phase was not given out. Second, why is it being given in percentage? Now, if we look at the percentage, isn't it surprising that you are expected to take it the way it's coming, and people are doubting it because, one, when you talk about the male and female, I would say that okay, fine, the number would be nearly equal, so the number of voters would be, let's say, equal, around similar in the case of male and female, but they've given the third gender. In every constituency, the third gender is always much lesser. So what are they talking about? Do they expect us to believe this data? Should they not have given the numbers of the total
No,
voters
I'll ask that to the former EC
Yes.
Joint Director. But Sujata Paul, the question that's being asked is, first you questioned EVMs. The Supreme Court has given its reply on EVMs that you can't be doubting everything in this country, and that you can't keep going back to the era of ballot papers. So first it was that. Now you're raising questions on the Election Commission. I mean, you can't be questioning the integrity of our election process, because then you are doing a great disservice to our democracy.
Zaka, in a democracy, it is our responsibility as voters, as citizens, to strengthen our system. And the system has to be transparent. And if data was not given out earlier, the question will be raised, because this is something that, which is the right of every citizen. When a citizen votes, he has the right to know these details, and there should be no doubt. So who's creating these doubts?
So,
it's not the people. It's obviously the data not being there which is creating doubts in the minds of people.
Okay, so let me ask
even a 3 to 4%
Dr.
data difference is huge.
Dr. Amin, one of the points that's been one second, GVL, let Dr. Amin respond to this. One of the questions being asked by the opposition is, election after election, the Election Commission of India would reveal the total number of electors or the total number of voters who turned up in each of the constituencies, and then of course you could match that on counting day with how many voted for which party and so on and so forth. This time around, for each of these constituencies, Dr. Amin, instead of giving the whole number of how many electors came out and voted and cast their vote, the ECI has only given percentage turnout data for each of the constituencies. Why is that?
Everybody in the opposition always have the objection on the working of the Election Commission of India. It's very bad. And you see, the CGI has clear election commissions, EVM machine and VVPAT machine, and all the procedures adopted by the Election Commission for the election in India, in assemblies and the parliament. So many times they are objecting. I don't know why they have. Every constituency, every polling booth, you can find all the opposition parties, their agents are there, our presiding officer is there, sector magistrate is there. Everything in the eyes of the law, and they are doing timely signatures. They are randomly checking the machines before the voting machine, and they are seeing all after their all signatures, and after the election poll is over, they are going to seal pack in front of them in all parties agents, and after that they are putting in the strong room in the presence of that all polling agents, and after that they have the lock, and the lock also the signature strips are there and showing. They all are the videography. How they can objection about the Election Commission's working? I don't know what they data need. This is not the private channel. Like sometimes, sorry to say, sometime any train accident, so they say 200 has died and 400 is injured. After that, our television official DDK, they what they say, they after verification from the administration, from local administration, after that they are clearing the picture. 20 in accident, 20 died and 10 or 5 are injured. This is the exact figure. So always there is some certain positions. This is not the hue and cry. I don't know what is the problem behind this.
So let me get a quick response from Sujata Paul, then I'll go to Professor Sanjay Kumar on this. He is saying, and he's right, you have your representatives, your polling agents, your booth managers are all there in every booth. They see, who goes in, who comes out, What is the total number of votes that are tallied? Every EVM is then accompanied to the strong room. It's all videographed. This entire thing happens in the presence of representatives of various parties, ruling and opposition parties. And yet you doubt the Election Commission?
I am doubting
No, if they-
nothing.
they
I am
will
doubting
in
the
Himachal.
process of not declaring. Can you please not speak in between? Can I just?
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
what
that
I'm
question
saying?
is to
The
Sujata
question is
Paul.
to you.
Yeah,
So
Dr.
the
Amin,
fact
please refrain. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes. So what as far as questioning is concerned, that's my right. First. Second point, when data used to be released earlier timely, why is the data not released? This is what we are asking. So why is anybody getting defensive about it? I don't understand. And the number of voters who went to vote, if you are not going to tell me how many there were, the number that is there, 1 crore people, 1% means 1 lakh, 3% means 3 lakhs. So obviously the doubts will be there. And when you are giving data in this percentage form, that too late, you have no excuse. And you are saying that the Election Commission shouldn't be questioned. Is that what you're saying? This is a democracy and every system has to be strengthened by questioning and making sure that there is transparency.
Professor Sanjay
If the
Kumar,
first phase
Professor
got
Sanjay Kumar,
over on
one
the
second,
19th, 11
everything
days
can
have
be
passed.
questioned, Sanjay Kumar, everything can be questioned, but we've had robust elections, particularly, from the 90s onwards with EVMs. We've had robust elections. Sometimes the BJP has won, sometimes the Congress has won, sometimes regional parties have won. So I don't understand this from time to time questioning EVMs, questioning. In any case, the EVM answer the Supreme Court has given. But what the opposition is raising now, this whole question about total whole number data of voters per constituency is not being given, the fact that there has been delay, are these valid questions? As Dr. Amin said, everything is videographed, everything happens in front of representatives of opposition parties as much as representatives of ruling parties. So then where are these questions being raised from? Or are they just, laying the groundwork for excuses for June 4th?
No. I don't think that these are laying grounds for excuses for June 4th. Yes, everything is being transparent. What Mr. Amin was mentioning, that there are agents of different political parties, that it is being videographed, signatures are put in, everything is in place. But that's the whole question all about. If everything is in place, this is one simple piece of information which needs to be put out in public domain, that this is a polling station which had 1000 voters and how many turned out to vote, and you collate it for all the polling station which went to poll. I can understand you don't give this figure at 5 p.m. on the polling day, not possible even at 10 p.m. on the polling day, maybe tomorrow, the next day by 5 p.m. But one has to explain what resulted in making this count, like what resulted in 11 days delay for this count. And it is a valid question to ask. For anything, when you calculate the percentages, it is always calculated on the basic number. Why these numbers are not being put out? And I must tell you, Zaka, during the last, I think 24 hours, I have received phone calls from several journalists. They asking me this question, that we are trying to figure out these information. We are trying to get this information from Election Commission. They are not responding. What do I do? And my response is that if they are not responding to you, how can I help you? Who is going to respond to me? So if this is the attitude, there are reasons for doubts to be created.
Nowadays,
There are
election is
reasons for
going on
people to
in
suspect.
the every
I think this is
eyes, even
what is
board is
happening.
watching.
There's only
International
simple
media is
solution
watching,
would have
everybody
been
is watching.
Election
So
Commission
every
could
question
have
we cannot
clarified
answer
this.
on
Okay.
behalf of the Election Commission.
No, once again, Dr. Amin, once
Yeah,
again,
procedure is
once
there.
again,
You
please,
can question
I'll
after
come to
4
you,
days.
I'll come to
Yeah.
you, please answer when it's your time, when it's your turn, when I'm asking you a question. But GVL Narasimha Rao, please respond to what Professor Sanjay Kumar is also saying. He's not an opposition spokesperson. He's an independent psephologist. He's a professor who's been tracking elections for the last 30 plus years. Surely there's got to be a reason why it took 11 days and why it took 5 days for the final voter turnout figures to be released. And two, more importantly, why not the whole number? Why are you giving in percentage terms?
No, Zaka, I'm not the one who is giving it, as Sujata
Sure.
pointed out.
Yeah, fair
I'm not speaking for the ECI, but having been a pollster myself, having understood the entire electoral process I'm trying to explain it in a way that people will understand.
Yes,
First
also
of all,
approved
please
election
understand,
commission.
polling, when the polling closes, there is a form 17C which has to be, please understand the process before you raise any doubts or questions. Otherwise, I think this is only trying to fool the public. At the end of every day, at each machine, at each polling station, there is a count, there is a manual register in which every voter is mentioned. And that count is at the end of the polling, the machine, there is a close button on the EVM. When that close button is pressed, there is a seal put on it, which is on the seal, there is a signature of all political parties and independent candidates, their polling agents sign. And there is a final number that is declared in Form 17C, a copy of which is given to every polling agent of every political party and candidates. And when on the day of counting, the first thing that is done in the morning, when the machines are brought to the counting table, is to see what is the total number of votes on the machine. First is total number is culled out from the machine by pressing some buttons, and that is matched against Form 17C. And if there is a discrepancy of even a single vote, that EVM cannot be taken up for counting. So
Okay.
there are robust, there is no way of putting in any votes. What is the doubt that people are trying to create? Oh, after the polling is over, it seems that some numbers have been, some bogus votes have been added. This is the rumor they want to spread. No. Therefore, let me make it abundantly clear, every EVM will have exactly the same number of votes that were counted and that were signed on Form 17C. And if every polling agent takes that precaution and ensures that there is no discrepancy, there is no question of any bogus votes being added. The reason for delay, I think that is for the Election Commission to explain.
Okay.
Possibly, my hunch, I'm not sure, is because they wanted to give breakdown by male, female, other gender. This possibly collation may have taken a longer time, and I'm not sure if such a breakup was given earlier. In 24 hours time, never, in my understanding, such a detailed breakup was given. Maybe they were trying to be more elaborate this time, but that is for the commission to give explanation.
But Sujata
there is
Paul,
no scope.
can you
There is
respond to
scope.
what GVL is saying? That there is no scope of adding any bogus voters between polling day and counting day, because at the end of polling, every political party representative is given a manual form. They then physically check the total number of voters or electors in every machine, and on counting day it has to be matched, because if it is not matched, then counting cannot happen from that EVM. So
Yes.
this idea that, there's an increase of 3% or 5%, these are extra votes that are being added for the ruling party, that simply does not work on the ground.
Zaka, that is exactly what we are talking about, that if the data was there in numbers, we would have been matching them right now also, no? And you are talking about percentage, and like I said, the percentage of the third gender will be different from the percentage of the men and the women. So if you are giving this breakup, it clearly means that there is something else which is happening. And I never spoke about bogus voters. Here is a person who created doubts in my mind about the EVM the first time, Mr. GVL, by writing a book about it. So, my question is, why couldn't the numbers have been given? Where is it? Elaborate. The postal
So
ballots,
that's exactly what he's saying. Sujata ji,
that.
that's exactly what he's saying, that your polling agent in every booth will have the whole number, because without that they
With
will
the
not
paper.
sign the Form 17C.
And they have received a physical paper.
Zaka, I am saying,
Yes.
no, what I'm saying is that once this data comes out, then you have the numbers, then you begin to match. In a percentage, do you realize that 0.16% of 1 crore could be different from 0.16% of 1 lakh? There's a great amount of difference. Are you
Zaka,
going
can
to
I
be
come in?
rounding them off, or do you
Okay.
need exact numbers?
All right, very quick rebuttal, and then I'll go back to Dr. Amin. Yes.
Zaka, when the final count happens, you will not count separately for male voters, female voters,
course, yeah.
or third gender. That breakup will not be available. Election Commission has only given you data on voter participation of different genders. But tomorrow at the time of counting, there will be a count of total number only. So only thing that every political party, I think everyone needs to be alert. I think Election Commission has a great history, track record, but it is the duty of every political party and every candidate to exercise all due diligence.
Okay.
So you have those papers with you. Please go on the counting day. First, ensure that these numbers match. If they don't match, raise an alarm.
Zaka.
So Dr. Amin, I come back. No, one second, ma'am. Dr. Amin, I come back to the question that I first asked you. If all the polling agents have the whole number and it's filled in 17C and they all sign on it, and then that has to be verified on the morning of counting, because if there is any discrepancy, as GVL says, then you can't use that EVM to count. Then why can't the Election Commission give out that whole number? There have been instances where media organizations have done stories saying the number of votes in an EVM and the number of votes that have been manually signed are not matching after counting. This has happened in the aftermath of, I think it was the UP election. Professor Sanjay Kumar would know better than this. But those were individual instances. Why not the EC release, instead of vote percentages constituency by constituency, just release the total number of electors in those constituencies, the number of people who actually turned out to vote? Dr. Amin.
First, I thank you to GVLG. Now, first I thank to GVLG. He has given on behalf of the Election Commission so many information to the public and your audience also. And thank you. Actually, he has the same person who has, when he was in the opposition, he has written so many books against the Election Commission process and everything. I don't know. I can say thank you only. This is one thing. Second thing, I told you before that, then the presiding officer start the election proceeding for the polling. And the closing, they are showing everyone, signature is there, form is there, everything is there. But I am going to tell you, I was the observer for the counting also. So, on the counting day, all the agents are coming, shown their lock, their signatures, and after that go to the strong rooms, and they seen all the seals and everything, and then one by one machines are coming for round, and counting is done. And I don't know why they have hue and cry about this, only data only. So many things are there, whole country is in the process of the election, and so many things are with the behind of the Election Commission, what they are doing in the day and night. But nobody can understand about the Election Commission's officers, and thus they need the data. They need the data. I don't know what they want to data. This will be given in time. Nothing to worry about that.
Okay.
I am sure every question answer you can get it. Thank you so much.
Sujata Paul, one question, and then final this thing to.
Yes, of course.
Sanjay Kumar.
Nowadays in the opposition, you can so many questions about the Election Commission.
Just a second. In 2019, there was a journalist who found discrepancies in the number of votes polled and the counted. And that discrepancy, is that what you're trying to hide? That is what I want to know from Mr. Amin.
You can, ma'am, you can go to the court. Everybody has gone their court. You go to the court and show there.
Everybody has to go to the court. You will not do your responsibility.
But what happened?
You will not do your work. Go to the court. What answer is this?
See, in case of the EVM.
No, what is this answer?
In case
Last
of
time
EVM.
Also in 2019,
No opposition has done anything. Why you have doubt about the Election Commission?
When
you are winning the Himachal, you are winning the other states. There is no question answer about that. Nobody can appreciate it, madam. You are in the opposition. That's why you are crying. Don't cry for that.
You are the one who is defending the wrong. It is indefensible.
Like I told you. In case of the Mamata Banerjee,
the numbers would tell us the difference if there is any
same officers,
the votes polled
same
and the votes
Election Commission has given the 10 years before that.
Okay, I'll give Professor Sanjay Kumar the final word. Professor Sanjay Kumar, I come back to this. In this day and age of social media and so much public scrutiny, is it even possible to have bogus voters or have back in the olden days, they used to call it scientific rigging and ballot stuffing and so on. Is it even possible in this day and age where, polling agents of every party are shown this before counting, after counting, and, as Dr. Amin said, in the case of individual candidates who feel that, there was some discrepancy or some problem in the counting, they are well within their right to challenge the result in court.
Zaka, that stage would come only on the 4th of June if something of that kind has happened. I do agree that these are merely speculation. No one has any evidence. No one has any evidence that something has been done, something wrong has been done to some EVM at some polling station, some extra votes. These are all speculation. So if there are speculation, if there are suspicion, what does the agency or what does the institution against whose the suspicion is being created needs to do? A simple clarification should come. If that's not coming, it's only deepening the suspicion. That's all what I want to say.
Okay. All right. We'll see how this plays out. Hopefully, for the phases number 3 to number 7, hopefully we will have the data sooner than we've had for the first 2 phases. And also, hopefully, the Election Commission will be able to give the whole number as to how many electors, how many people actually turned out and voted in each of the constituencies and not just percentage terms. But we'll wait and see. We'll leave it at that.